everybody, I'm Kylie and welcome back. Welcome to our first YouTube wrap-up video and IGTV wrap-up video. We're going to review July's books that I've read. I'm going to start with the physical books from my least favorite to my most favorite, and then we'll get into audio. So July was a great month. I read way more books than I ever have during the month, so it was super exciting. I hope you guys were able to reach your reading goals as well. I know it's also the second week of August, and this should have been posted last week, but we're getting there. We're getting there. We're going to start off with Island of Farrah. I did a poll on Instagram if I should DNF this one, and I should have listened to people. I rated this book 2 stars. I'm sorry, 1.5 stars. 1.5 stars. I didn't absolutely hate it. I don't want to be that strong on hate, but I strongly definitely did not like this book. I have no intentions of rereading it. It got 1.5 stars. I was so disappointed. One of my favorite authors recommended this book, and it just was not at all what even the summary or even what I thought it would be. The summary sounded so great, but Island of Farrah just wasn't my favorite. I don't remember their names anymore. Luis, yes, Sarah and Luis. You know, she needed a date, you know, while her family was in town, and she ran into Luis, and so he was her tour guide, also date in the city, and this takes place in Key West. The thing is, his family and friends and everyone he knows is in Key West, and it's just a very small island. Word spreads fast about this girl that's been following him around. They each have their situations that's affected them in the past, and it's them getting over it. The reason I did not like it was just because it was so repetitive. It was just so hard to get through. I thought the characters were so cliche, and it wasn't at all what it could have been. It had good points. It just, oh my gosh, the dialogue, like they would be saying something and then it would stop the dialogue and then go into what that character was thinking and go into their past and why they're thinking this and acting this way. And so, can we just get through this conversation? I want to know how this conversation is. And so I found myself a lot just skipping pages, honestly. So I should have listened to people when it came to DNF this book. But the next book so we went from 1.5 to 4 stars. So we're gonna do our 4-star physical book reads. This one, A Burning, it was a buddy read that we did for the month of July for the first 2 weeks, and it was such a quick and fast read. I ended up rating this 4 stars just because I really liked how parallel it was to everything that is going on. And even though it takes place in India, it's a very clear message that, you know, the stuff that's discussed in this book happens worldwide. You know, gaps between the rich and the poor, how certain racial groups are treated, how there's a lot of racial prejudice, how people are always trying to get ahead in life. And you know, when you do that, some people are lucky and able to get ahead, others, they just keep getting knocked down. This book is divided into 3 characters. So it's Javon, P.T. Sir, and Lovely. And it is really cool because you get each person's perspective of the terrorist attack and how each person kind of has a part in it. And it's just really cool to read it and to kind of see, like, okay, did she do it? Did she not? Is this person gonna speak up? Is it not gonna speak up? It was just a really great read. I personally recommend it 4 stars. The next book I recommend is The Boyfriend Project. This one was really, really good. If you are looking for a book that is a strong female lead, and when I say that, I mean she isn't just some fashion designer, shopaholic, girly girl. No, she's in the IT world. She's in the tech. She's trying to design an app. Like, it is so cool to be able, you know, this confident woman being in a career that not a lot of women are in. And so she even discussed that, especially a lot of colored women. And so she discussed a lot of that, her struggles and how she has to overcome it. But she's very confident about it. It doesn't come off as whiny at all. I definitely give this book about 4 to 4.5 stars. It honestly can go either way. I really liked the dynamics between the characters, Samaya and Daniel. And Daniel's story, oh my gosh, I was not expecting. And once he started to introduce why he was at her company, I was glued. I really loved the direction that this went into, especially with it being in the tech world. And it's very modern, because you know how a lot of those offices are doing open floor space, you know, everyone's equal level, everything's very transparent, you know, everyone's been trying to up the employee benefits. They discuss a lot of the more modern office spaces in this book, and it kind of ties it all in, just makes it really cool as well. I loved Daniel and Samaya. I love Daniel and just his personality, and Samaya and her friends, London and Taylor, who are a doctor and a nutritionist, and it's just, their story is so fun, and recommend this one. 4 stars, 4.5 even. So the last book that I want to introduce to you guys is my 5-star read. I absolutely loved this book. It was recommended by Reese's Book Club, and this is honestly my second book of hers, third, but one of the books that she's recommended that I absolutely loved. I don't know why I delayed on this book. So after this review, if you have not read it, you need to go and buy it right now because it is so good. And every person who says they delayed on it doesn't understand why they delayed on it. The 5-star book of the month of July goes to Where the Crawdads Sing. I loved this book. It is a historical piece. It starts in the late 50s, early 50s, and goes till early 70s. Absolutely appreciated it. I love the story and the character development and just everything. Like, you have a very clear image in your mind what is going on, how this girl was raised. I loved it. You're going to wish it never ended and that you could just restart it. The end, oh my gosh, it blows your mind. It is just so great. Oh my gosh, I loved Where the Crawdads Sing. I dog-ear my books. I don't know if you can see that, but I dog-eared like all these pages because it was so great. I so highly recommend this one. Do not delay on this book any longer. Go check it out. Read about Kaya Clark and her journey in the marsh and how people treat her differently. They really do, because she's the marsh girl. And because she is the marsh girl, she grew up differently and doesn't have the same education as everyone else. They treat her like an outsider. And she is one of the most brilliant characters I've read about. And I love Kaya Clark so much. Definitely go check out Where the Crawdads Sing. Read about her journey and the marsh. Alrighty, so we're going to talk about the audiobooks that I was able to listen to last month in July. Lately, I've been hearing a lot of Bookstagrammers because things are starting to pick up back up from COVID and everyone's going back to school. So, you know, things are just getting busier. And so I've heard that audiobooks have been a saving grace. I've been loving my audiobooks. You know, I was a little iffy on them because I used to listen to podcasts a lot. Now I don't. I got over them. But this is totally different. I started off with a lot of personal development books, and I just finished my first fictional book, and I absolutely loved it. The narrators can vary each audiobook, but you know, you just gotta get a good one. So the books I read, the 2 audiobooks I listened to in July were Grit by Angela Duckworth, and then the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey, I believe is his last name. And so with Grits, I rate that 4 stars. At first, I was not in the mood for it. I had to discuss it with my husband, and he's like, what else did you expect from it? And once I realized, I'm like, you know, this book is giving me everything I need. And I bookmarked so much throughout the book Grit because it had so much wonderful information, and she had so many studies and how she learned about grit and how she teaches other people grit and what it takes to have grit from the inside out and outside in. It's very informative, and it's a great one to listen to, and you could just sit there and bookmark it on your app and the parts that you enjoy. I really enjoyed it. I really liked how informative it was. So the last book I'm going to review with you today, and was the last audiobook I read in July, was The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People. This one, the reader is slow. It is read by the author. So I did bump it up from like speed 1 to 1.4 just to get it going a little bit. But once I did that, it was super enjoyable. It's super, super informative. I was bookmarking it too, leaving little bookmarks a ton in this book, because if it didn't really apply to me, it applied to somebody I knew. And what I really appreciated about it, how it's basically the basic principles, and he has other books that focus on maybe principle 1 or habit 1, habit 2, you know, but this is a great book that just discusses all of the habits and gets the point across. I love that he applies it to family, to if you're self-employed, to if you're working you're an employee under a company. He applies it to everybody. I really did enjoy listening to it. It made time pass just because he had so much information. So I gave 7 Habits of Highly Effective People 4 stars. So both the audiobooks were great books, 4-star books. Definitely recommend them. So that is it with the July wrap up. Have you guys read any of these books? If so, leave your thoughts in the comments below. I hope you guys can subscribe for when we do more book reviews, along with a few business tips. And if you guys are interested in plants, I share a lot of that too, because it's what I like to do in my free time, and I like to share it with you guys. What books did you read in July? Share with me. I need more books to add to my TBR list, because you know it's not long enough, right? Awesome, guys. Well, thank you so much, and I hope you have a great day.